So me and my husband got into an argument last night, and one of our kids heard us and kind of came into the room. While I'm not going to go into detail about like what we were arguing about, I am going to just kind of tell you guys the conversation that I had with my kid after the fact. And this was like the next morning. So, anyways, we just kind of talked about it, and he was like, I was like, yeah, I said, so, you kind of heard mommy and daddy, having a discussion, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, I was just kind of curious about what you guys were arguing about. And I said, well, we were just arguing about some adult things. I said, sometimes when you're in a relationship, there are things that you just will not agree on. And I just started breaking down, like, look, in a relationship, there's so many different things that people could be, could disagree about, whether it's money, whether it's parenting you guys, whether it's, how we do things around the house. I was like, you got to understand, men and women are totally different. So a woman might have feelings and emotions about something that a man can care less about, and vice versa. But the whole goal of a relationship is trying to find the common ground, trying to find how things can work for both of you guys. So then I went on to ask him, like, how did it make you feel, to hear us arguing? And he said, well, I was curious about what it was, but it also made me a little sad. And so when he said that, of course, that kind of got me in my feelings. At the time, I had to kind of muster that up. But I was like, why did it make you sad? And he was just like, well, just because, y'all were arguing. Now, when I'm thinking about this now, and just now what made me start recording is just like playing the conversation with him back in my mind. And so I was just, he didn't really get to the meat of why it made him sad. But I don't know, it just had me thinking a lot about it. And we just kept talking, and I was explaining to him, look, it's natural for people in a relationship to argue with one another. I was like, it's, sometimes you might have a heated debate or a heated discussion. I was like, and he made a face. And whenever he makes a face, it's because he doesn't know the definition of a word. And I said, okay. And he was like, what does debate mean? And he was like, is that like, all he could think about, child, was the presidential election? And I'm like, yes, that's valid. But then I had to also go into my homeschooling bag. Y'all know I'm a homeschool mom. So I had to explain to him what a debate was. It's two opposing opinions and people kind of going back and forth stating their case. I was like, it's nothing more than a heated debate. Yes, it was an argument. I'm not, getting away from the fact that it was an argument, but, just letting him know, look, that's healthy. It was a heated debate. I said, but let me tell you what's not okay. Okay. So teachable moment. Let me tell you what's not okay. It's not okay for you to name call. It's not okay for you to disrespect. It's not okay for you to put your hands on one another. Did you experience any of that? And he was like, no. And I went ahead and just tapped myself on the back. Not in that moment. I'm saying this is now that I'm thinking about it. Another thing is I patted myself on the back for the simple fact that I don't think my son has ever really heard us argue. Like, it kind of made him nervous. What I like is that he said that it made him sad. I'm not happy about the fact that it made him sad, but I am happy about the fact that he didn't say it made him scared. Just thinking about my past, not my past relationship, but just thinking about my past trauma. I'll just say that because of course I don't want to put any like family business out there, but just thinking about my past trauma, there was times where I would hear arguments or